It's 3:17 a.m. You're lying awake in bed. The room is silent, but your mind isn't. Thoughts loop again and again, like a broken record. What did I say earlier? Did they misunderstand me? What if I fail tomorrow? What if I already have? You replay every conversation, rerun every regret, predict disasters that haven't even happened. Scenarios spiral, branching into infinity. Each possibility feels real. Each outcome carries weight. Sleep is no longer an option. Your mind won't let you go. This isn't just a bad night. It's a pattern, condition, a silent epidemic. It leaves no visible scars, no bruises, and yet, it slowly, quietly eats away from inside. We live in the most mentally overstimulated era in human history. Endless information, constant notifications, infinite choices. We're more connected than ever. Yet, somehow, we are unraveling. Anxiety disorders have spiked. Decision fatigue is everywhere. Burnout has become a badge of modern life. We think more than ever before, and yet we seem to know less about peace. Here's a truth we rarely speak aloud. Overthinking isn't intelligence. It isn't self-awareness. It's a form of self-destruction, wrapped in the illusion of control. What if the very thing we pride ourselves on, our brilliant, calculating mind, is the same thing silently destroying us? What if thinking isn't always a gift, but a trap? This isn't just a personal issue. It's a cultural condition, a collective descent into mental noise. And most of us never notice it's happening, because it hides behind being responsible, productive, informed. But beneath the surface, something is breaking. So, let's ask a question few dare to confront. What happens when the mind, unchecked, becomes the tyrant over the soul? Welcome to the age of overthinking, and perhaps the slow death of presence. The human mind is a marvel, capable of abstract thought, language, imagination, and deep analysis. It has built empires, decoded the cosmos, engineered every modern convenience we rely on today. But beneath this brilliance, there's a shadow, a restless force, a mind that never stops thinking even when it should. Buddhism calls it the monkey mind, a mind that leaps from one thought to the next, unable to sit still. It chatters endlessly, swings between fear and desire, relives the past, simulates the future, but avoids the present at all costs. We live in a culture that has elevated this mental noise into virtue, a society where stillness is seen as laziness, and silence feels suspicious. We reward the busy, the analytical, the endlessly productive, but rarely do we ask, productive toward what? Eckhart Tolle warns us, we've made a dangerous mistake. We have confused the mind with the self. But the mind is a tool. It is meant to be used, then set down, not clutched at all hours. He writes, compulsive thinking is actually an addiction. What characterizes an addiction? Quite simply this: you no longer feel you have the choice to stop. The illusion of control keeps us spiraling. We think if we just analyze more, we'll finally reach clarity. But clarity never comes, because thought cannot silence thought. It only breeds more thought. Long before modern psychology, the Stoics saw this trap. Marcus Aurelius wrote of the inner citadel, a quiet place within, untouched by the chaos of the world. Epictetus reminded us, it's not the events that disturb us, but our thoughts about them. And yet, here we are, trapped in a mental cage of our own making. A man, alone, locked in a transparent box. The world moves on, but he stays behind, paralyzed by thought. Society teaches us how to analyze, but rarely teaches us how to integrate, to understand, to sit with uncertainty without needing to solve it. The unchecked mind becomes a tyrant, loud, anxious, relentless, and we obey it, not because it's wise, but because we've forgotten there's any alternative. But the first step toward freedom is this: you are not the voice in your head. You are the one who hears it. Every day we face decisions, some small, others life-altering, but increasingly, The very act of choosing has become unbearable. You scroll through 10,000 job listings, trying to find the perfect one. You swipe through hundreds of dating profiles, afraid of missing the one. You write, delete, and rewrite a single tweet, terrified it might be misunderstood. And then, nothing. No action. Just more scrolling, more thinking, more researching. This is analysis paralysis. The illusion that if you just think a little more, plan a little better, you'll finally make the right decision. But the truth is, overthinking doesn't lead to clarity. It leads to collapse. The modern world exploits this weakness. Algorithms offer endless options, videos, products, opinions, but they're not designed to help you decide. They're designed to keep you thinking, clicking, consuming. The average person now makes over 35,000 decisions a day, most of them subconscious. Combine that with endless digital input, and you get decision fatigue, a state where the mind becomes so overloaded, chooses nothing at all. Psychologist Barry Schwartz calls this the paradox of choice. In one famous study by Sheena Iyengar, people were more likely to buy jam when offered fewer options. Too many choices? They walked away, because choice in excess becomes torment. Perfectionism often hides beneath this paralysis. It whispers, don't act until it's guaranteed to be right. But right is a myth, and the longer you delay, the more power fear gains. Overthinking is not a strategy. It's a stalling tactic, a subconscious way to avoid risk, responsibility, vulnerability. We've mistaken knowledge for wisdom, but there's a world of difference between the two. Knowledge is knowing 100 ways something could fail. Wisdom is knowing that action is the only way to find out. We're drowning in information, but we're starving for direction. And in the noise of countless possibilities, we forget the simplest truth. A step forward, even the wrong one, is better than standing still in fear. Overthinking isn't a personal flaw. It's not some internal malfunction you developed alone. It's a product, a byproduct, of a world meticulously engineered to keep your mind spinning. From birth, we've been trained to equate constant thinking with virtue. Productivity is praised. Optimization is worshipped. Slowing down, doing less, being still, that's seen as weak, lazy, unmotivated. This is the gospel of hypercapitalism. You must always be improving. Rest is failure. Downtime is wasted time. You are not a being. You are a brand, a worker, a machine. Social media adds fuel to the fire, creates a digital mirror maze where we see versions of others, filtered, curated, perfected. We compare, we perform, we seek validation, and in the process, we lose the ability to be present. We become addicted to the noise. Then comes the news, a 24/7 stream of fear, outrage, crisis, designed not to inform, but to provoke, to hijack the amygdala, to keep your mind on high alert, forever scanning for danger. Even the education system plays its role. It teaches memorization, not introspection. It tells you what to think, but rarely asks why you think it. Creativity replaced by conformity. Obedience dressed as intelligence. The more overwhelmed you are, the more distracted you become. And the more distracted you are, the easier you are to control. This isn't conspiracy. It's conditioning. Noam Chomsky called it manufacturing consent. Neil Postman warned we were amusing ourselves to death. Marshall McLuhan reminded us, the medium is the message. They all saw it coming. A world where information wouldn't liberate us, but paralyze us. Modern humans live in constant mental traffic. We've lost the silence our ancestors once knew. The stars are still up there, but no one looks anymore. We've traded wonder for data, attention for analytics. Ask yourself, what if the very systems designed to inform you are making you incapable of truly knowing anything at all? What if constant thought is an awakening, but sedation? There's a reason propaganda doesn't need to lie. It just needs to exhaust, to confuse, to drown truth in so much noise, you stop looking for it altogether. This is not accidental. The mind, when flooded, becomes passive. It turns inward, loops endlessly, and convinces itself the next thought will be the breakthrough. But it never is, because the system doesn't want your clarity. It wants your attention. And what better way to control someone than by convincing them they are thinking freely, when in reality, they're just thinking endlessly? Welcome to the modern mind. Engineered confusion. A crisis manufactured. Imagine a prison with no bars, no guards, no walls, just you, sitting in a cell built entirely by thought. The bars? Regrets from the past. Memories you can't let go of. The ceiling? Future fears. What might go wrong. What probably already has. The warden? Your own ego, quietly terrified of what might happen if it ever relinquished control. This is the psychological prison of overthinking. A place where the punishment is endless rumination, and the sentence, indefinite. Most people don't realize they're inmates. They believe they're just being careful, responsible, or realistic. But this isn't caution. It's captivity. Overthinking isn't just a habit. It's a trauma response, a survival mechanism wired deep within. At some point, you were hurt, or blindsided, or disappointed, and your mind made a decision, never again. So it started thinking, obsessively, rehearsing every outcome, replaying every mistake, not to understand, but to protect. But here's the paradox. The more the mind tries to protect you, the more it traps you, because safety isn't found in endless control. It's found in acceptance. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Overthinking is often the echo of unprocessed fear, of childhood patterns, of identity structures so deeply ingrained, we mistake them for the self. We believe our thoughts define us. Our plans give us purpose. Our anxieties keep us prepared. But ask yourself, who are you without your thoughts? Not the roles you play, not the opinions you hold, not the plans you obsess over. You, the mind, unchecked, becomes a tyrant. But awareness, the act of seeing the mind, creates space to witness, not obey. This isn't about self-help. It's about self-liberation, not fixing the mind, but seeing beyond it, not silencing thoughts, but realizing you're not the voice, you're the listener. Freedom begins the moment you stop arguing with your mind and start watching it instead. In a world that never stops moving, stillness is an act of defiance. We've been conditioned to associate silence with emptiness, as if to be still is to be unproductive, unambitious, weak. But this is a lie, fed to us by a system that thrives on your constant engagement, your attention, your energy, your anxiety. Stillness isn't absence. It isn't void. Stillness is presence, pure, aware, alive. To sit in stillness is not to retreat. It's to confront the now without flinching. As Eckhart Tolle reminds us, presence is not about escaping life's problems. It's about facing them without being consumed by the mind's compulsive narratives. It's about being not just thinking, seeing not just interpreting. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." In Zen philosophy, the still mind is not an empty one. It's one that sees clearly, one that returns again and again, to the breath, to the body, to the undeniable reality of this moment. And when you do that, when you detach from the constant swirl of thought, you don't become mindless, you become mindful. You see the machine of thought running, but you stop identifying with it. Stillness becomes rebellion against the culture that tells you to hustle until you collapse, against the screens that scream for your reaction, against the ego that feeds on complexity, chaos, and control. You don't have to run to the mountains or become a monk. Rebellion can start in the smallest of ways. A single mindful breath, choosing not to check your phone, letting go of the need to solve every problem the moment it arises, saying, "I don't know," and that's okay. Stillness is the eye of the storm. It's where you stop chasing peace and realize you already have it. You were just looking in the wrong direction. The world may keep spinning, the chaos may continue, but when you cultivate inner stillness, the noise loses its grip. You stop being pulled by every thought, every fear, every distraction, and you return to the soul, the silent observer beneath all the mental chatter, the presence that doesn't need to prove, perform, or explain. Stillness isn't escape, it's revolution. Thinking isn't the enemy, it's a tool, brilliant, necessary, and often beautiful. But the suffering begins when we forget that it's a tool, when we begin to believe that we are our thoughts, that we are the voice in our head. But what if you're not? What if you're the one who hears the voice, the still presence behind the noise, the observer, the witness, the awareness? Ask yourself, what would your life look like if you stopped trying to control it with your mind? If you stopped treating uncertainty as a threat and started seeing it as part of the experience? Return now to that person lying awake. In the middle of the night, the thoughts are still there, but something has changed. There's no resistance, no panic, no grasping, just stillness, just breath, just presence. This is the return to the self. Not the self you've built with memories, roles, and expectations. The self that existed before thought. The self that doesn't need fixing or proving. It doesn't come with effort. It comes with surrender. You are not broken. You are not your anxiety. You are not your past or your projections. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who watches them. Let that truth sit, like the last note of a bell, reverberating long after the sound is gone. If this message spoke to something deep within you, share it, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more explorations like this. Not to escape the noise, but to remember the silence beneath it.